Buckle up, everyone, and welcome to Carpool Rugby League, show where two Rugby League tragics talk everything Rugby League on their way to or from work. I'm Graham.
And I'm Shane.
Welcome aboard and on with the show. Okay, Shane, we're coming off the back of a big Origin victory for the Blues, so there's a lot to talk about in regards to State of Origin.
Insane game. Look, yeah. I think kudos to everyone. It's easy when you win as a fan who's won to say, well done Queensland, well done everyone. I'm saying this because Kevin Walters is in the washout. He's probably going to get asked a few questions. I honestly think he's the man for the job yet again next year. And that's going to be the elephant in the room. He's a guy who's...
He's trying to pick up the pieces after the dynasty is necessarily... You've got a lot of players who have given up Origin football over the past few years to pretty much, with a minute to go, still be in the Origin series without your Inglis, Cronk, Slater, Smith.
Yeah.
It says a lot.
And the other thing is you've got, I think in New South Wales, you read a lot of the press coming out of New South Wales, they're saying, well, Kevy's the man. He said, I'll be here next year, and he should be. He's done a really good job. In Queensland, they're asking questions on who's the next Queensland coach.
Queensland expect to win. That's the culture up there. They expect to win every Origin series, and especially in recent times, you look over the past 20 years, they have won most series.
When they clawed back 12 points, I almost thought, here we go.
Look, to be honest with you, just focusing on Game 3, it's obviously we're going to talk about how good the Blues were and how good the win was. We'll talk about James Tedesco. We'll talk about all the pieces of the puzzle that come together.
But also talk about things like Ethan Lowe.
We will talk about Ethan Lowe for sure. He was an absolute monster in defence, especially. But just off that, to look at it, I think that realistically, before that comeback you talked about, I feel as though the Blues should have shut that game out earlier on. They shouldn't have let the Maroons back in.
Maloney should have kicked a field goal instead of going wide.
Yeah,
that's a play. That was a very low percentage play at a time where they were looking for consolidation.
Do you think there's this culture that's developed in rugby league that we're focused, and the players, especially halves, are focused that it's too early to kick a field goal? I'm of the opinion that I don't care if there's 20 minutes to go and you're up by 12 and all of a sudden it's a 13-point difference to a 12-point. It's a psychological advantage that I don't think the players
Queensland went for a field goal before half-time.
Yes, and I'll be honest with you, I was at the game and it was 8-all, and I said to the people I was with, I said, I'd kick a field goal because going into half-time...
If that had gone over...
Well, especially with the way that Queensland had scored that try, and New South Wales pretty much before halftime, they fought their way back into that game. I thought psychologically, if New South Wales was to kick a field goal as a New South Wales fan, psychologically, for Queensland to have gone in at halftime down, on the other hand, with Cherry Evans, it's the psychological advantage. We're winning the game.
I don't know
it's
why.
Huge.
You see it with teams sometimes. They get the fifth tackle options and they're a bit lost. I don't know why I think teams that stop field goals show immense, what's the word I'm looking for? Faith in their team to hold the ball and get back up there. Yeah. Newcastle used to be great at it. Johns used to kick a field goal whenever.
Back then, yeah.
Manly in the day were the same.
But even you see some teams where, I can't think of a specific example, but I feel like, you get a half, like a Benji Marshall style player who'll go at halftime or snap a field goal. Just one of those who'll play off the cuff type of thing. You don't see that anymore.
Used to do it a lot. Adam Reynolds used to do it a lot.
Adam Reynolds used to be good for a field goal because he had that confidence in his team's defence, and he was a really good field goal kicker. The thing is that I also want to ask you too.
Maloney's all right. Jeez.
Yeah, Maloney can snap one. He didn't do it. He didn't need to the other night eventually, but that's all right. We'll get to that in a moment. Just on the sidebar, do you think that it hasn't been talked about, and I want to bring it up now, do you think changing the rules in regards to the 20 tap to a 7 tackle set has had implications on players wanting to go for field goals? Do you think players are less inclined to want to kick field goals because they don't want to give away the 7 tackles?
Yes, and people say prove it. I'll prove it. Why do people slot field goals from left, right and centre in at Golden Point? All of a sudden, when 1 point wins you the match, we'll go for it.
But I even think
1 point will win you the match at any other
stage.
That's
right.
just on first half.
They're all points.
Just on the first half. Worst refereeing performance ever.
Look, the referees scored more points than the actual players.
What
the referees blew 10 penalties. Neither team was able to get...
by the end?
Yeah, it was. Would have been closer. I remember at...
I thought I counted 12.
Yeah, look, it could have been. I'll have to look at the stats, but I remember at the 30-minute mark looking at the penalty count, and it was only because I was at the game, so I wasn't privy to the penalty count. I didn't keep track of it, but I had someone text me 30 minutes into the match and say 10 penalties already.
Yeah, all I can say is that
it's too many.
Old school days,
mate.
The old school days, they all must have got the paddle at half time because they come out.
Look,
and we're far more disciplined.
Big coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's another story, really, with the referees in regards to that. And the first thing we're insinuating and we're implying here is that, look, the referees...
Did they set the tone?
Yeah, I think they did, because when you have a look at the game, same person who I turned to and was talking to all game, at that point where there was 10 penalties, I said, gee, they've already blown 7 more than they did in the 2003 grand final. And that was a shit game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right.
That was a great game because Bill Harrigan put the whistle away and let them play.
First couple of Origins.
Was great. First 20 minutes, bash the crap out of each other, go for it.
I don't get what it is with referees feeling they need some sort of ascendancy. I didn't see anyone any more disciplined in the second half.
Now, look, I'll be honest with you. Early on, I know I haven't watched the game on TV yet. This is just the feeling at the ground. Early on, I felt like when Queensland were defending their line, they were happy to lie all over and give away penalties.
That's fine. But what about the ones near halfway?
There was
one 10-metre penalty, and it was like, come on.
There was 2 penalties in very quick succession that probably were penalties that were let go. But because the penalty count was already at 10 or 12, I think it was very late in the first half from memory. I'm just trying to think which way. Yeah, it was very late in the first half. There were 2 calls either way where they said, no, let's go. There was a holding down one and another one. I'm trying to think of what it might have been possibly for. They could have both been holding down ones. But I think the referees got to a point where they said, it's almost half time. We've already blown a dozen penalties. We've got to let up because we don't want to be the headline. And
I was sitting with someone watching the game and they said, geez, like the speed men haven't injected themselves yet. It's like, well, they've had 10 breaks.
Well,
there's been 10 breaks in play.
Yeah.
You don't have to replace anyone. You don't have to do anything. Someone made the comment of why Cameron Murray didn't come on earlier. Well, no one was tired.
Yeah.
There was no need to change. Yeah, there was no need to change. No one was fatigued enough to want to change.
I feel like his role was always going to be that impact player, but I understand what you mean. They weren't looking tired. It's not as though they go, geez, we're really hanging out.
If there were 3 penalties all half, he would have come on with 10 minutes to go.
And I feel as though, and I think it was in the second half at one stage, yet again, I'd have to check this, and I was taken aback by it a bit. They said, over the loudspeaker at the ground, New South Wales have made their 4th change. And we're about 10 minutes into the second half.
It wouldn't surprise me.
And I know the players it's a testament to the players that they're fit and they can play at that pace. I mean, you mentioned before Ethan Lowe. He played 80 minutes. This is a player that was struggling to make first grade at the Cowboys, took a pay cut, needed a change of scenery, is now at South. He's been kicking along nicely at South, but this was a real breakout game for him.
Look at the history of how he got picked. If you look at the evolution
of Ethan Lowe... He shouldn't have played, really, if everyone's on board.
The evolution of Ethan Lowe over the last 10 weeks has been Wayne Bennett talking to Queensland saying, this guy needs a start. Trust me, he's the guy you need. Injury befalls Gillett. He gets a start. Look, I'm not going to say Wayne Bennett's a super coach or anything, but if you believe what you're hearing in the background,
I think he's happier under him than at the Cowboys.
But if you believe what you hear in the background, that really Wayne Bennett was in Queensland's ear saying Ethan Lowe's the man to pick. Geez, he wasn't wrong.
Well, Wayne Bennett said today, and you'll notice this. We popped up the video on the Facebook site, and we'll talk about that later because he had a lot to say in that press conference. But he praised Ethan Lowe, his 80-minute performance, he had 52 tackles. Now, this is a bloke playing on an edge, okay? So to give you an idea, and I know that they've got a bit of a unorthodox, might be the way to say, spine, where you've got Ben Hunt playing in the number 9 role, and usually you'll...
The other thing to add to this, Ben Hunt would have been told, limit Ethan Lowe's attack. Limit what Ethan Lowe does. We need him on the field for 80 minutes.
Yeah.
If we score with 2 minutes to go and he's got a slot of goal, we need him out there.
And I think the idea was...
He still made 90 metres.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of people are looking at what's he going to do in attack, And he was solid there, and I think people were surprised when they saw that he got the 52 tackles. So, I mean...
charge down.
Yeah. I mean...
The charge down was huge.
But they had some big... I mentioned Ben Hunt, as
play.
I said. He had to help him out as well. But Ben Hunt made 40 tackles himself. As I was about to allude to there, for someone who's a half week in, week out to come into Origin and make 40 tackles, that's a good effort.
What it tells me is that there are teams in this competition that really hold themselves on the line. Like, I think of South Sydney and Adam Reynolds. A lot of people don't realise Adam Reynolds is one of the best defensive halfbacks in the competition.
But they've
done
still
the stats.
Run at him.
They've done the stats. They've done the stats. They've showed it. They've put it out there. Yet they still run at him because he's the halfback.
Yeah. It's a
Cody
game
Walker on the other side, though, is a different kettle of fish. It's funny how...
Same with Penrith. You see your Cleary and Maloney.
Yeah.
And even...
Hunt's someone who can plug a hole... And quite often you don't see him get run over at the Dragons. And I think this is what people going, just run at him. Sometimes the gaps are elsewhere. Sometimes the fault is elsewhere. It's not necessarily at the halves. Yeah, the halves do a lot of work, and you want to protect your halfback. But likewise, when you get a halfback into a position like Hunt is, he can do a lot of tackling, and he is effective in his tackles.
The other interesting thing just before kickoff, when I saw the teams flash up on the screen, noticing that Michael Morgan didn't start and they went with Moses and Bai. At the time, I thought that's a bit of an interesting selection. We probably didn't see the full impact of what happened there in regards to how that was going to work because unfortunately Morgan got
axed.
Yeah, knocked out. But that was interesting to see. Mbai ended up playing 80 minutes for Queensland. Are they...
If you're a Tigers fan, you would have been happy with what he did.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to keep saying this, that and the other. I mean...
Maguire was after everyone. Maguire was after everyone on the other night. He's mouthing off. He's knocking his own teammates out.
Well, speaking of... yeah, that's true. He was after everyone. But look, I don't know if that counts in his tackle count. It may do because he was up there with the tackle count too. I think he was at about 47. He did a lot of work. He was... I feel like Maguire is going to be that player that they're building. You say they're made for Origin, they've got that niggle. He's got that about him. He's got to find that right line because as a New South Welshman, you don't love the guy, but
you like okay.
You got to have that.
If he was in your side, right? I think back to some of the great people like that, like your Billy Moore. Like let's go Billy Moore, Gordon Tallis, Crocker, Michael Crocker. These were players that had that, but they never made a mistake. For their club, they were front and centre and one of the best players every week. That's his problem.
He does too many silly things too.
He does so many.
Very
silly
lucky
things.
not to.
He does so many silly
be
things.
Suspended.
Look,
at
I know
times.
people go, Gordon Tallis. He called the ref a cheat and got sent off. Yeah, he did. Gordon Tallis.
He also got a good shot on Ben Ross that day.
I remember, you go through Gordon Tallis's. Where
he's a Queensland legend.
Dragging players over the sideline.
He's gone that extra mile to get the play done.
I'll never forget.
That's what I see. What you're getting at.
Now we stripped the ball off Paul Stringer and scored to win the game for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Even when he was at the Dragons.
Yeah.
He was the best. If he wasn't the best forward, he was the second best forward.
Yeah.
Maguire doesn't have that.
I don't know if
I'm missing.
I don't know if I felt like any of the. I don't know. I think it was just one of those things the other night where Queensland needed to find another gear. They needed someone to really, really step up and take the game. And look, what I'm getting at is when I look at the players and how they were performing in that game, I don't feel as though it was any surprise that James Tedesco scored that winning try.
The problem was they were hanging on by the skin of their teeth. And when Papali... I'll tell you what.
That Papali try was... They opened up. That was soft from our point of view.
It was a bit, but it was also good work by Cherry Evans.
He held it up nicely, yeah. He ran a line.
And you know
it was
what?
a good try.
It's a great little play. Like, I've never seen that. I've never seen Canberra do that. I've never seen Manly do it. Yet Walter's got them two to do it.
Yeah, I've never seen Papali run off his halves like that.
And just the same, I've never seen Cherry Evans throw a ball like that to one of his... You know, like... And it's not as if he doesn't have the props to do it to.
Yeah.
Imagine if that was Marty Tapau.
Yeah.
So it's not as if they don't have the players. That's the coach saying, hold the ball, do this.
All right. I'm going to play devil's advocate here, just before we talk about the New South Wales team. Because we talk about the Maroons and people will say, oh, this player, that player. Say, for example, I know this is a massive hypothetical, but say that was Origin 2 and you're going into Origin 3.
Yep.
Or say there's a fourth, whatever, however you want to spin it.
Best of 5.
Yeah, say it's a best of 5 series and the Maroons have to pick another team for 2 weeks' time. Do you make changes?
To this side?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think you do.
And I
was going to say that.
in either.
I don't know how...
I make one change.
I think that this team on paper...
I'll make one change. I'll make one change and I'll find a spot for Napa.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I don't need Gillett.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Napa could...
I think Gillett runs off his... I think Gillett...
Do they need
it
back on the bench, you know?
Dude, I think Gillett is one of these players that runs off his form 3 years ago.
Mm.
When Gillett was injured and all of a sudden someone else was coming in, I thought, geez, you know what? They're going to be a stronger football team because of this. And the proof was in the pudding.
Yeah. It's interesting too how, with the teams... Like just on the Queensland team.
Does Corey Norman stay?
But the thing is too, when you look at the team...
If you found the touchline, you're just like a foot over it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's got to bounce first, mate. Yeah. Look, it's hard because... and I think that puts it in perspective. People are saying, oh, this player, that player. If all of a sudden they said, oh, you know, Smith wants to play, Cronk can play, and Slater's going to come out of retirement, Inglis is going... You know, it's all these hypothetical... but there's a massive... They're in a transition period, and they've got some good players. And to be honest with you, if I was a Queenslander, I would look at this team and say, on paper, they were not given a chance. They almost won this series.
I'll tell you now.
They almost won this series.
Morgan plays 5'8". Munster had a whale of a game.
Munster was good. I would like to see Munster play in the halves. But
Morgan plays 5'8". I reckon there's opportunity there for it to be a different result.
I'd like to see blokes like...
I'd rather Norman off the bench.
Oh, yeah.
To be that rip and tear, quick, opportunistic player that comes on.
He's got a bit more spark and play
Morgan,
what I see.
That's not Morgan.
No, Morgan's a bit more
very methodical.
Structured.
That's why when he come on, like, you know, we didn't see the whole point of it, but when he came on...
He was on for 22 minutes.
Yeah, but I didn't think there was any impact.
Do you know what the funny thing is?
You know what it was? They looked far more structured, though. Geez, they looked like a football team that knew how to attack.
This is interesting, though. Of the bench players, Morgan actually played the most minutes.
Yeah. Until he got punched in there.
Yeah. Welch played 21 minutes. I'm very interested to see, like...
Lasby was underused.
I think so too, and the reason that you guessed that was people at home. This is radio, not television. I'm pointing at Glasby's name on my bit of paper here. Glasby was underused. That's what we're getting at.
My point,
we are organised.
The point is this: I know why Glasby was underused.
13 minutes
because Kafusi was playing an absolute whale of a game.
Yeah, I know. Who do you pull off? I know.
Offengowie was going well. I think Glasby was going to be Kafusi's replacement. You couldn't take Kafusi off in that game. No way.
His first half was really
good.
No
way. You could not take him off.
He was very good.
He was the attack because you can't... Ethan Lowe couldn't be the attack. He has to be the goal kicker. You know, and a lot of people used to talk about Corey Norman.
Even that try just to be the player who's making the run. Yeah. And when you see when they're putting on plays with little grubbers in behind that you've got a bloke like Kafusi running through,
Chambers was another guy.
With Chambers and Gagai and these blokes Oates in the back line. I'll tell you what, Queensland, they went close, mate. They were very close, considering no one gave them much chance.
Of the back five, I thought Gagai was found wanting.
Yeah, I don't... It's one of those players where... It's one of those games where you say, oh, how did Gagai go? And I'm trying to think of what he did.
Back five in Origin need to make over 100. He didn't. Back five in Origin need to...
Do you want me to tell you the contrast? And I know you might still want to talk about Queensland. I'll talk about New South Wales. Total contrast with Blake Ferguson.
Well, let's go to New South Wales.
Blake Ferguson injected himself, especially early on in the sets, getting out of trouble. Blake Ferguson, I know he wasn't picked initially for the first game, but having him in this Origin side, it really went a long way to us winning it.
We made the point that we honestly felt he should have been there.
We had him in our initial team.
Cheers, viewers.
Cheers, everyone. We had him in our initial team. 171 run meters, 21 runs. Kick return meters. That's the thing too. I mean, obviously we'll talk about Tedesco later. We could almost have a podcast on how good Tedesco was, but Ferguson 41 kick return meters. He got in and had a go. He was helping out. 37 post contact meters. He had the try assist, the line break. I know not everything's stats, but these are just numbers. I can't show you highlights over the podcast of how good he was. This is just my way of verbalising how important he was to New South Wales the other night. And I think it was a very smart ploy too, to not change your tactics, but have different players involved. Because it was the Tom Trbojevic show in Origin 2.
I'm going to say
we had strike across the park.
I'm going to say this. I thought Trbojevic was really quiet the other night.
And I don't know if that was a coincidence. Though.
I wonder if
I think that was by design.
Yeah. You're going to attract a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Flick it out.
You're watching all the video from Origin 2.
Josh Adokar.
You could be the worst coach on the planet. If you watch the video from Origin 2, what do you say to your players? Geez, watch out for Tommy Turbo coming in around the back, blah, blah, blah. Let's switch it up. Let's send, and now it was Tedesco creating a bit of width and running around the back on the outside. I thought they were well coached. I really enjoyed... Look, let's talk about James Tedesco. I know it's very fitting that he scored that last try, even if he doesn't score that last try.
Yep. He's
man of the match and man of the series easily.
Yep.
There was no other choice for that man of the series. Yep. I know, tongue-in-cheek, a lot of people were backing Billy Slater for that one, but there was never going to be another choice. An interesting thing to see with James Tedesco talking about those meters. I know a lot, not a lot of them, but some of those meters came from that last try that he scored. He ran a few in, but he still had 230 meters all up.
He was phenomenal. He was absolutely
90 kick return meters.
Yeah. The problem was
3 line breaks.
The problem was...
Do you want me to keep going? Because I can. It's phenomenal. 2 offloads.
The problem was that you had... The problem for Queensland was they just couldn't find the grass. They were trying to kick the areas. The other thing was they were kicking... And this is something for kids to watch. And I suppose I like breaking down rugby league. I like looking at the coaching side of rugby league. Queensland were told to kick to the edges and chase the edges. And a lot of people would talk about Blake Ferguson not wanting to run and pass it to Tedesco. Watch the game again and watch what Queensland were doing. They were trying to jam. So they come up in a sort of compressed umbrella, not across the field, but an umbrella around Ferguson in the hope to corner him. So basically he gets tackled in the corner, then all the forwards have to come back. You're scooting out from the edges. What Ferguson did, and I know a lot of people talk about Ferguson. I actually think Blake Ferguson's got a really good football brain. He'd passed into the middle. And a lot of people say, why would you do that? Now, it's got to be risky. What he's doing is he's stopping that edge compression. He's stopping getting tackled in the corner and opening the middle of the field where there's more people. Also, in the middle of the field, you can get people like Cook in the game quicker.
Plus 2, you just about spend 1 tackle. You waste a tackle getting the ball back
into the middle
between the 2 sets of train tracks.
That's exactly right. So a lot of people were saying, "Oh, Ferguson was passing the ball." He wasn't passing the ball because he didn't want to take a run. He was passing the ball because, effectively, it's the smartest thing to do in that situation.
One tackle where
you are saving a tackle, and Queensland wanted to play that. You watch the players run around; they almost ran in a semicircle towards the edges. It meant that Tedesco could make another 10 metres coming, 5 to 10 coming out.
He did it. He was phenomenal.
Josh Adokar as well.
Josh Adokar and Blake Ferguson, they were, like, we talked about Ferguson, but Josh Adokar we need to also mention too. He did his bit, especially with those kick returns and the runs. So he made about 30 kick return meters. So they were helping out Tedesco, who, as I said, whale of a game, man of the match by far. We'll talk about the halves. I was just interested to get your take on the halves. They seemed as though they were two veterans that did a job. Do they get... Yeah, I mean, I could get on here and go, James Maloney, let's look at how many missed tackles he made. He probably missed, I don't know, I haven't looked at it. I think he missed about a dozen, which is,
Maloney.
I'm not surprised. Sorry, Maloney, who did I say? Maloney did it? Yeah, sorry, Maloney.
It's Maloney-esque.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think
he almost gave away a flop penalty too. There was a.
That was the one they should have blown.
In the first half,
just at the end of the first half.
Yeah, the first half.
That's the one I was talking about earlier in the podcast.
Had there not been 12 tackles,
that's the exact one I was talking about.
Penalties.
That was
we were lucky.
So to look at that, I mean, they got the job done. They didn't shine. They got the job done. They did what they had to do. I think that was the experience part of it too, where they knew the strengths of the team and they were coached very smartly. I mean, not only are they experienced halves, but on the coaching staff there's some experienced halves as well. And I think the best way to put it was, I saw Danny Badiris talk during the week and he said, he was asked about having halves on the coaching staff and having experienced halves and if there was a clash in philosophy, and he said, well, if you're a good coach and you're managing your halves, you look at what their strengths are and you try to bring the best out in that.
When it got to the point where it was 20 all I could think about was Mitchell Pearce. All I could think of, I don't know why, all I could think of is him and the poor bloke. I thought Mitchell Pearce guided the team well. When Maloney was the controller, he kicked into the corners, he did everything right. Okay, he did most things right. I still think kicking rather than take.
There were a few times where I'd hoped he'd found grass more often.
Yeah.
I can't remember a lot of kicks that hit the ground. But he tried to kick to the corners, but the back positional play as the Queensland back three was good. We'll give them that.
I think what they did was they sort of come to the realisation that, look, the game breakers are not at the halves in this side.
Yeah.
The game breakers are your Trebojevic,
look, to be honest with you, your number 1 and your number 9 are the biggest game breakers in this
that
team.
Cook try, he was just waiting for it to happen.
I almost thought for a second that, I'll be honest with you, it's going to go down as one of the... look, 2 of the tries from this match, the Cook one and the Tedesco one, are going to be shown on the highlight reels for years.
Yeah.
As New South Welshmen, we're really excited to see it. I almost thought he bombed it. I thought he should have thrown the pass when he got to Munster. I thought he almost bombed it, but he's just got that much speed where
speed to burn.
He
knew it.
He had confidence in his speed. He knew he had him.
Yeah.
We might as well talk about Cook because
Cook's numbers are if Tedesco wasn't
man of the match, he's your next one in line.
He's your next one in line.
That's how I feel about it. Damien, he just has that way of creating something out of nothing, sparking it. That was a big try. I know they're all worth 4 points, but they're not. That was a very important point of the game.
That put 12 points ahead, and that was he was starting to open up. What we got to realise is not a lot of hookers actually make over 100 metres in a game. And he does.
He did this, yeah.
And he does. It's
that dummy half running. But the other thing is too, what I think's underutilised by a lot of players is not only the fact that he made a lot of meters. Obviously, they're going to be from dummy half. He's not playing first receiver or this, that, and the other.
Try assists.
But 128 metres out of dummy half. I know a chunk of that would have been that try.
Well,
Okay,
what,
say 40. Okay, so even if you bring him back to 80 metres from dummy half, that's 8 hit-ups that you're
forward
probably
doesn't
saving
have to
your forwards.
The other thing he does is...
That's work that Clemmer doesn't have to do.
When he comes out of dummy half and he moves sideways, he just attracts attention.
Yeah.
That's how Vaughan scores.
Yeah.
Vaughan scores because Cook comes out of dummy half.
They've got to cover. Yeah.
And you
they're
got
not,
a big bloke,
they're not set
big bloke on
that close to the line, yeah.
Yeah. I thought, look, it was really good to see. Poor Wade Graham, felt for him, his injury.
And ended up with 16 minutes.
Cam
Murray.
Wow. When he came on the field.
That break he made, I know.
Finucane as well. But Dale Finucane come on the field, again, like just playing.
I think he ended up with over 100 metres playing off the bench. So he made 120 metres in 39 minutes of footy. That's super handy.
Yeah.
But that's what you want. 12 runs, 120 metres. He's a 10 metre a run player for you.
Yeah.
Back on Cameron Murray, we just glossed over him.
That break. He was bamboozling that defence.
The one-on-one strip. He can pull out a big play, and I think this is another reason where I think they were coached very well. He was used very different in this game as opposed to, say, for example, game 1. He had big minutes.
Okay,
he came on around a tired team.
South Sydney fans out here, love to hear input here. My new forward pack for that team is this: you've got Totola, Cook, Sam Burgess. If he's fit, like I'm talking about next week.
Sam play lock, play prop.
I'll tell you. Listen to me. This is for next week because I know they're injured. Sutton, Lowe, and Murray.
Yeah,
that's your forward pack. I think Ethan Lowe has shown this guy can't play centre.
See what you've. Yeah, okay. So you got Sam going into the front row to take a bit of that.
Well, it's not as if he hasn't been a bookend before.
Yeah. And then Murray
when I look at Murray...
To take a minute... So with Sam not being on the edge, that would free up Murray a bit more to do... Yeah. I like him as a... I mean, he's too good to be on the bench week in, week out. I loved how they used him off the bench here. If you've got a tired team and you bring Cameron Murray on...
But, this is Origin.
It's going to happen.
This guy should be doing this every week. Now, there's some other things. I look at the way that they use Dale Finucane. I also look at Saifidi. I thought,
I should remind you, we're not in the car this week.
Yeah.
We're in the studio. So
in the carpool studio.
When you hear the Coca...
That's right.
We're not sponsored, but when the Coca-Cola or the Pepsi gets opened, or the...
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know. We're not sponsored, so we probably shouldn't mention the...
No, we're not going to mention them.
No, unless they want to sponsor us.
That's right. But when I look at what... Origin's a different kettle of fish, and I just look at... That's why Wade Graham's on the bench. And yet he starts for... I think
Paul Vaughan coming off the bench and Clemmer starting.
Wade Graham, yeah.
Clemmer starting with Saifidi. That's smart coaching.
Yeah. I think
Saifidi was never going to play huge minutes in this team, but it's similar to last game. He started early, did a job, came out hard. Having Clemmer, who plays with him every week, out there as well.
Yeah.
Little things like that. I'll give Brad Fittler one thing. He knows his team. He knows his footballers. And look, he's got all year to sit back and watch a lot of footy and get to know it. It's his job. Great work. But he's really got it right this time.
The other thing, if I was the coach
congratulated.
If I was the coach of the Knights,
Nathan Brown.
If you were Nathan Brown. If I was Nathan Brown, I would have been able to slap Trent Barrett.
Just don't slap me.
Just don't slap. Yeah, remember that? That's old school, isn't it? He should have won a grand final with that side. I still reckon they were one of the best sides.
The St George team.
Oh, that St George team was one of the best teams of all time. They're one of the. People talk about Parramatta.
I want to say.
Me, they are
we talking around that 04, 05-ish, 03, 04, 05 maybe?
Yeah, even a frag earlier.
Yeah.
In my opinion, people talk about Parramatta team. They're the best side never to have won a grand final. They were better than the Parramatta team in the day. The choke team.
Like the 2001 team that got beaten by Newcastle.
Just choke.
Any team in the last 30 years, yeah.
Just plough through it, really. But I think if I was Brownie, I would be saying to Clemmer, right? What we want from you, you tell us your ideal rotation. Because, geez, when he comes on fresh...
And he only played 41 minutes.
He bamboozles defence. He can move. Like
I actually think...
big man,
we talk about him a lot on the podcast.
He's a better player now than what he was 2 years ago.
Yeah. And I think with his role at the Dogs, he's the senior forward. They're looking to him. I can't remember getting on the podcast and going, geez, Clemmer had a dodgy game. We get on every week he plays. He was out for a bit, but every game he's played this year has been a belter.
When he feels fit, geez, he's good. Anyway, that's Origin, really.
Anyone else you want to give a mention to? I think we've... Look, the whole New South Wales team...
Addo Carr, I thought Whiten was very solid.
I actually thought Whiten did his job well.
Out of position.
He had a job and he did it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Whiten was good. What I've got to give a big shout out to...
at all.
Big shout out to Tom Trbojevic. I know we said he didn't make many meters. Geez, he tackled. He made some very, very important tackles.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And when you're looking at stats, and that's why we go through stats and we don't always like to do it because, you know,
Whiten,
it doesn't always give you the...
Whiten did too.
It doesn't always give you the context.
As centres, when you're getting up over the 15, 16 tackles a match,
yeah,
you're doing work. You're working hard.
That's a little bit, Adam. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, not every tackle's equal. No. You might make a great tackle that makes...
Yeah.
Big difference. Even not talking about this game, but you see the try-saving tackles, and the people that play Supercoach say, all they get is the one tackle point, but it's worth so much more.
He also Whiten also had a fairly good kick.
Yeah, that's where at the start of the season, and a lot of people, it's one person we didn't talk about and say, oh, geez, we wish Latrell Mitchell was there, or so on and so forth. I'll be honest with you. Throw the same question at you I asked you before about the Queensland team. Say it's a best of 5 series.
Keep the same team. Yeah.
This 17 plays next week. I think they do.
Yep. I think so too.
Yep.
I look.
Cleary's fit.
Do you know what? Although Mitchell Pearce, if you look at his numbers, and this is where you can look at stats and it can look good for one person and not so good for the other. They hung off Mitchell Pearce. Mitchell Pearce hit the line. And all of a sudden they stood back. They never did that with Cleary. Is Cleary's kicking game better? No, I don't think Cleary's actually got a good kicking game at all. I think I'll be honest there. Let's look at it in the first game.
That might grind a few gears.
I know.
The Penrith fans already love you.
Love me. That's true. I don't think he does. He does. In the first game, he kicks it dead.
Yeah.
At a time, if we got the drop out, we had them under the pump. Instead, he kicks it dead. Penrith fans he's going to come and yell at me if they want.
I'll put it this way.
Watch it. How many times do
they're probably nodding their heads because they see it every week. I'll put it this way. This might help your argument a tad. I don't think his kicking game builds pressure.
No, it doesn't.
At all.
No, it doesn't.
I don't think it does. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on the rest of his team. And they run out of gas. And then he'll kick a field goal against a crap team in the last minute and he'll walk away from the game as a hero.
Yeah.
And his forwards are going... You've done nothing for me today, except get on the news.
2 points.
Yeah, someone's made 50 tackles, and he's on the front of the paper.
I think Mitchell Pearce was a frag more dangerous.
Yep.
I've got to be honest though. Had the Blues lost that game, I think a discussion we'd be having, and it's a fair discussion, is the fact the halves really didn't do much. They didn't have to do a lot. Didn't have to, but I don't think
it's always going to be a discussion.
They didn't build a lot of pressure.
Do you know what I think?
At least Pearce's kicking game.
Yeah.
He came down before the line. It made Queensland work at some time.
Do you know what? This is a player I didn't mention before when I was talking about the players that aren't in the Queensland team anymore. Is Jonathan Thurston. I'll talk about Thurston and Cronk because as New South Welshmen, we're just coming off we're happy we won the series. The real thing to look at this is yes, we won the series. We played 3 Origin games with 3 different halves combinations, and right now, I have no idea who they're going to pick for next year. Could be anyone. With Queensland, I never really looked forward to the Queensland Origin team announcement because it was...
you didn't have to.
It was the world's worst kept secret because it was just the team that did the job last year. Yeah. For as long as Thurston and Cronk were going to be playing Origin football, they were the Queensland halves. Even at this stage, I don't see a young player or like Maloney and Pearce could be anywhere next year.
Daly Cherry Evans was the best half on the field.
Yes. Yeah. But what I'm saying is too, and Queensland have enough of them. Their whole spine's full of halves. They got Munster, they got Hunt, they got Norman. They've got a lot of halves to choose from. I feel like with New South Wales, it's a process of elimination. You go, oh, okay, well, Maloney's... Look, to be honest with you, without Maloney, we wouldn't have even been in the position to win the series because he was great in game
I love
two.
Maloney. I don't think Maloney's the issue. I think if you want to...
I don't know who you'd pick next year.
Look,
I don't know.
You know, like...
I don't know. There's no one who you go, oh, look at that young up-and-comer.
Yeah, but you got to be
It's not
fair.
saying you're looking at Queensland.
I think a part of me
No,
says...
you look at Queensland.
Yeah.
Kalen Ponga comes on the scene.
Yeah.
Origin written all over him.
Yeah.
Find me a New South Welshman who you
I-
say that about. A young up-and-coming New South Welshman that's not playing Origin that you
Not
say
playing Origin?
that they're going to play
I would say
Origin.
I would say Cam Murray.
He plays it now. Tell me someone who
know.
hasn't played.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. At the start of the year...
We said that about Angus Crichton 2 years ago. We didn't miss him. When I say we, I mean
True.
New South Wales.
True.
A lot of people will get that.
That's true.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's one of those things where a year of football is a long time. The Queenslanders, I can tell you, Cameron Munster's in that team next year. Cherry Evans is in that team next year.
Yeah.
Chambers is in that team next year.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm getting at?
Cook's in the team next year.
Look, I know Cook's in the team next year. Tedesco's in the team. I get that. Give me someone with a 6 or a 7 on their back because they're very important positions. It's hard. You can't. That's what I'm saying.
You know what
That's what worries me.
But you know what the problem is this
The
year?
30-year-old halves got the job done this year, but where are we going?
Okay. The problem is this year I felt Keary.
Yeah, well,
Okay,
yes,
so he got
okay,
injured.
yep, fair call.
Adam Reynolds gets injured.
I don't know if they're going to pick him. I reckon everyone. I reckon all
think
hands
they
on
would've.
deck.
I think they would have. I
reckon all
had he
hands
not
on
had-
deck.
Had he not had the back issue, they had such an awful kicking game in that game one. He's got the best kicking game in the league.
The only thing that throws me off that is that discussion that Brad Fittler had on the footy
It's
show.
not about his hamstring.
No, I know, but remember
Yeah.
Brad Fittler said he said that Adam Reynolds is cleared and available for selection, and that night he picked Nathan Cleary.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Origin too.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah.
That was after Walker
yeah.
had the dodgy game. But I think
was
all
like-
hands on deck next year,
Yeah.
all going to plan. Luke Keary and Nathan Cleary are the halves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything going as you'd expect. Anyway,
Right,
there's
look,
footy.
look,
Look, we'll talk about some footy this week.
I had a point I was going to make.
Did I talk too much rubbish?
Doesn't matter.
Anyway.
Doesn't matter.
All right, we'll get to the footy.
Doesn't
Look,
matter. That's what I was going to say. I think we've got to afford Pearce a little bit of leeway because that guy would have been absolutely crapping bricks. And I think if people talk about nerves.
there's a lot on the line. On the line for him.
I would not want to have been any part of that man's digestive tract in 24 hours leading
I'll
up.
tell you what, you could have been the fastest bloke on the field. It would have been fully functioning.
I wouldn't have wanted to have been
Yeah.
that in the 24-hour lead up. He would have been crapping bricks, and I think for him to compose himself, that's the biggest game. I don't care what you talk about the grand finals. That's the biggest game he's ever played.
If he had had a bludger of a game,
he would have had the demons of 1,000 minutes of rugby league turned to shit in his head.
if he had had a bludger of a game,
I'll tell you what,
he would have been the one that everyone would have nailed to
I
the
think
wall.
for what he did, did he set the world alight? No. He's just come into a team, and having had to do what he's done, I think probably deserves a bit of kudos for that.
Yeah. Look,
But
they got the job done.
The game of footy tonight.
Yeah. Look, there are 2 games tonight, so
My favourite team
depending on
tonight.
depending on when you depending on when you listen to this,
Love the
these
Titans.
games may have already happened. Look, your favourite team, I'm assuming that's the Titans, not the team they're playing against.
No,
All right.
I've got a soft spot for the Penny Panthers.
I know.
I
was only
Jeez, people give me a bad. Don't worry, I'll cop it.
was someone on the Facebook site.
Oh yeah, no, it was
Michael,
yeah,
was it?
Michael.
Yeah, it was
and
Michael.
don't worry, I get people who listen to the podcast. why do you hate Penrith? I said, don't hate Penrith.
I
I hate going to the Plaza. I don't hate Penrith. They're the football team.
Look, I'll be honest with you. We give you grief. I
only tell the truth.
The truth hurts, Penrith. Look, they're going well. They're flying. The Penrith Panthers are actually going really, really well.
For and against an issue.
Yeah. So look, the first game, as you may have got from our implication there, is the Panthers against the Titans. It's going to be happening at 6:00. Penrith or Panther Stadium, they call it now.
Pepper's? Oh, not Pepper.
Not Pepper. No, I think Pepper don't sponsor him anymore.
Okay.
No more Pepper.
Penrith Park.
Panther Stadium, I think, is the official name.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember it was Penrith Park on the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there, people.
Yeah, the Chocolate Soldiers.
Watching you getting beat.
Anyway, so just to give you a bit of news on this one, they're looking at giving James Maloney the go-ahead to play in this one.
Well, he has to.
Nathan Cleary, the word is Nathan Cleary was named on the reserves list. The word we're getting is he's not going to play.
Gone.
I think Jed Cartwright, I think, is actually coming onto the bench. He's going to play his NRL debut, so that's a big night for the Cartwright family. The Panthers have a really good record against the Titans. That's something to keep in mind. The Panthers are actually on a bit of a run here, so I actually think they're going all right at the moment. We often say on the podcast, if they want to make the finals, they've got to stop winning games by more than one. They come up against the Titans. They don't have any... They're not affected by Origin, keeping in mind because of Jai Arrow being out. They're 1-17 by the looks of things tonight. I really like the Panthers in this one. I think the Penrith have been on a bit of a roll lately. They've found their groove. They haven't been 100% convincing. If they were playing a team up the top like a Storm, a Roosters type of team...
The latest news is they're Edwards, Mansour, Farah, Naden, To'o, Duai, Maloney, Tarmel, Kenny, Fisher, Harris, kick out, Witterstein, number 15, coming into the...
Yo's playing lock.
Isaiah Yo in a lock.
That's interesting.
Egan, Leota, Campbell Gillard, and Cartwright.
So, as I said, good to see Cartwright get his debut. Interesting to see Yo.
So they're what, 1-17
with a
more
bit
or
of a
less
shuffle.
Named, but with the shuffle. But there's 19. There's 18, 19.
Isaiah Yo.
You had to sort of look at the team yesterday to realise where that's all coming from. But anyway.
Interesting to see Isaiah Yo playing in at lock
I think it's
up
a good
the
move.
middle.
I think it's a good move. I think with the way Witterstein's playing, the way Kickout's playing, I think Isaiah Yo can be that quick... that quick roving player.
He's turned into an ultimate utility, isn't he? It's almost one of those players where we go, Yo's a gun.
Here we go, Penrith fans. I've rated him since day one.
Note this down. What have we got?
I have rated him, and I think...
Friday the 12th of July, Shane's going to give the Penrith Panthers a wrap here.
I think if you listen to the past podcast, you'll hear me say this. I've rated him since day one.
He's one of your favourites.
I think he's a speed demon. He's phenomenal. He's got good hands. The biggest problem is that sometimes he's the forward that needs to do the work. And you can't do that to a guy like him.
Mate, he'll get plenty of work tonight playing lock. He's in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm really interested to see how that goes, especially when you look at the other side of the coin. I know... Look, the props from the Titans don't necessarily scare me nor impress me. Their strengths are, with the forward pack is in that back row of Proctor, Cartwright, and Wallace. I think's a very good player in at lock. Keeping in mind you've got Boyd, he'll be coming off the bench then, wouldn't he? Yeah. So, I like Penrith in this one.
Penrith win. I just can't see.
They've got too much.
I don't know what
too
it's
much
like.
form and talent in the team.
Penrith. It's absolutely blowing a gale in the upper mountains, and
we're in the upper Blue Mountains for those that are wondering when we say that. So we're not too far away.
So I'm just.
It's been windy all over Sydney.
It was actually quite breezy down.
It's going to be cold. That might affect the Titans, but look, they could be playing this on the moon. I think Penrith win.
The big problem, true. At least Penrith's kicking game might be a bit better, but hangs up in the air more. Yeah, so I'm picking Penrith. Like, I'm picking Penrith by 13 plus.
Yeah,
I just think Maloney will
Do you think
have to do a lot of work.
Do you think? Well, you mentioned there he's got to do a lot of work. Do you think playing just 48 hours ago 80 minutes of Origin football is going to have an impact on that, or do you think that they're professionals, they're athletes?
I sometimes think players look like they're better after Origin.
Sometimes, depending on what the turnaround is.
Like, yeah.
Sometimes you find if it's it's a couple of days. It's
Yeah, I'm Penrith on this.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm going to go with Penrith.
They need Cleary.
Penrith don't win games by a lot, so don't make this your margin.
No, they need Maloney in there. But if there's one game, Panthers. Now I've said this: you need to win a game by a truckload. This is the truckload game.
When you look at that's the thing. As I said, we talk
12,
about it frequently. The only thing keeping the Panthers out of the top 8 is for and against. They are on the same amount of points. They're on 16 points in 10th. They share 16 points with the Sharks and the Tigers. If I said to you, how are the Sharks and Tigers going? You go, yeah, they've had all right seasons. They're a chance of the 8. I said it, are we going 4 weeks ago? I said the Panthers could make the 8. You laughed at me. You're still laughing at me.
It's their for and against.
I know it's their for and against. The West Tigers have okay.
They need to be 2 points clear of the 8. They need to leapfrog the 8 and be 2 points clear at the end of the year because of their for and against.
They win tonight. Look, by the end of even if they win tonight, by the end of the round, they probably won't be in the 8.
Oh look, no. If they win tonight, that's 6 in a row. That's phenomenal for any side. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. The problem is, you need them. You need to win by a mozza. One of these games has to be by 40.
Okay, hypothetical. Only one of these two teams I'm going to mention can make the 8.
But they're
Who do you
almost
choose?
50 behind Penrith.
Look, listen. Behind West.
Oh, behind West, yeah.
That's the team I was going to say. Only West or Penrith can make the 8. Who would you bet? If I said, Shane, here's a $5, go down to, your local betting agency. We don't condone betting, by the way. But who do you put it on? The Tigers or the Panthers? Head to head, who's going to make the 8?
Both at full strength?
Yeah. Cleary's back.
The way Madison's playing at the moment?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, right now, on the 12th of July, as it sits, you don't want to say because at the end of the year, when you choose the wrong one, someone will bring it up on Facebook.
Oh, no, because, either way, I've got
you got Tigers in. We know we got fans of both the Tigers and Panthers that listen to this.
Look, if this,
but that's what I say.
Okay,
We're talking about 9th and 10th.
If this is the finals,
10 weeks out.
If this is the finals and they're playing a knockout
game. What are we?
Round
17, sorry.
So
we've got
they're
8
playing
weeks.
A knockout game. At this point in time, if they were full strength, you'd be hard up going past the Panthers. You'd have to pick the Panthers.
If they're playing each other this week, you tip the Panthers, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the teams that they're fielding.
Oh, okay. No, with Cleary.
With both full strength. So the biggest problem is this. Is that the Tigers have points in them. Like the Tigers can win a game by a bit if they wanted to. Tigers don't have the discipline to do it.
Yeah. Look, I just...
Do you want my honest opinion? Do you want my honest opinion?
For and against the Borough?
Yeah, but are those two sides better than the Sharks?
No. I don't think either of them make the 8. I reckon Para will hold on and sell the Sharks.
Now that silly season's over, Sharks have got trouble. If Wade Graham's out for a while, Sharks are capitulating slightly.
Sharks ruined my tips last week.
They're a hard team to work out, mate.
Look, and that's the thing, I'm surprised. We mustn't have many fans in the Shire because I thought they'd be all over us on Facebook because I did not give Brisbane much of a chance of winning that game last week. That was my margin. That was my game where I was dead cert that the Sharks would win and they didn't come through. Look, we'll move on to the next one. We've both got the Panthers in the early game. The next game is going to be the Knights at Newcastle taking on the Bulldogs. As we know, the Bulldogs still sit at the bottom of the ladder. They're on 10 points. In real terms, that's 4 wins. The Newcastle Knights, very interesting to see now where we don't know the final makeup of this team. It's too early to know.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that. Look, we know that on Tuesday when they announced the team, Clemmer and Glasby were in that reserve section. What I did notice though, when they trimmed the squad down last night to 19, Glasby and Clemmer were in the 17, and I don't know if that indicates anything. We'll find out before the game. Pearce has been named to play. I'd imagine their Origin players will play, especially Pearce. I actually think.
Do you want to know why?
Saifiti's on the reserves list. They've got a few backing up. I don't think people have understood through this Origin period how affected the Knights are with your Clemmer, Glasby, Pearce, Saifiti coming in as well.
If you are stone cold motherless last on your tipping competition, and you want to pick an upset, pick the Dogs.
If you pick them for fun,
what would you pick the Dogs last week? Would you?
Look, I know.
You know what I mean? They're a team.
I know what
if
you
they
mean,
can
but
get their crap together,
Newcastle,
they can get their
they
crap
can
together,
win. Yes,
they can win. And I just think you've got some players who worked pretty hard the other night. That can go one of two ways.
It's going to be if the Bulldogs are going to win.
If the Bulldogs were ever going to beat the Knights, if the Bulldogs were ever going to beat the Knights, this is the night to do it.
It's going to be up front. Like Tolman, Napa, Jackson, Howard and Naira, those types of blokes are going to have to lay the platform, because I'd like to see the Dogs. I know they've got Delamatidis-Lesniak now fullback.
They are a different outfit. Yeah, look.
I want to see Hopper White get more injected. Massive blow, though, I think, in regards to their halves. Not having Foreign, I think is big for this team. Wakeham and Cogger.
No.
I don't look at that halves combination and see concern for Knights fans.
Yeah, it's going to be the kicking game. It's going to lose it. They won't get any penetration with the kicking game. The Knights will end up they'll be playing football outside their own 40. They'll have an attacking set at every go. Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Knights will win. Okay. But like I said,
it's always a but.
If you want to be a bit of fun,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not writing off the Dogs. I don't want all the Dogs fans to say, oh, you didn't give us a chance. Look, I'm tipping the Knights. I'm pretty confident the Knights go win, but I've been wrong before.
I'm going to say this right now.
Yeah.
Before we start talking. The next game has the potential to be game of the round. However, when these two teams play, it usually turns out to be an absolute bludger.
It's one of those...
Sydney versus Manly.
South and Manly.
Far out, they can produce some ordinary rugby league.
Look.
You look at it on paper and you go, this is the game. You sit down, you have your barbie, 3 o'clock, you've got your sherbets, you're getting ready, and then all of a sudden they produce... You can set your watch by it. These two teams, when they play each other, they can produce a bludger.
I'll be honest with you though. Manly will have confidence because they did beat South earlier in the year. South have been really poor lately, and they need a win. The big news out of this game, I think,
have been horrible.
Just in regards to team changes, the big news really in regards to this game. It is affected by Origin. We do have players rested. I will mention the Sea Eagles first because arguably one of the biggest names that'll play is Tom Trbojevic. He's been rested.
Yeah.
So Trbojevic has been rested. Elliott's going to play fullback.
I get it, but why? Is it...
Do you think
They haven't played a lot of football.
There's been this real trend this year to rest players, whereas in the past we haven't seen it so much. Do you think it's part of being trending and I'm going to look after him? He's been injured earlier on in the year.
It's where he did.
I would look at him.
Look, maybe they're the bogey side. That's when he did hurt his hamstring.
I know, but I would look at it as a Manly.
If I was a Manly fan,
this is a chance for us to knock off a top 14.
Because if we win, we're in there. We are in the 8. We're cementing our spot. South are right for the picking.
They could be in the top 4 at the end of this weekend, Manly, if they win it. They would be on equal points with South, who had that great start to the season.
I agree.
Look, Trbojevic, as you can hear there, is out. He'll be rested. As I said, Elliott's going to play. The news out of the Rabbitohs camp, was confirmed with the announcement today of the 19-man squad. It was also confirmed earlier today with a press conference by Wayne Bennett. We shared that on our Facebook page because there was a lot of news that came out of that. Sam Burgess, he is actually a couple of weeks away, according to Wayne Bennett. He is not right to go yet. He was expected to be back by now. Ethan Lowe's going to be rested. We talked
His
about
brother got worse problems to worry about.
Yes, yeah. Well, his brother George, now that you mention it, he is on a long suspension. Wayne Bennett also confirmed today, which was the rumours were that he would not be at South next year. Wayne Bennett confirmed it today. He said that that's something that they've known for a while, and they're basically planning.
About a week and a half.
Yeah, when I say a while, yeah. I think he counts in fingers in the eyes, but yeah, it was 2 eye gouges ago they made that decision.
Yeah. Look, you talk about Ethan Lowe out.
Ethan Lowe's being rested. I can understand that one.
I
because
would not want Ethan Lowe playing for my team.
And we talked on the podcast a lot about player loads. Jaden Sewer's going to play his first game for South. That's very interesting. Very interested to see how he goes for the Rabbitohs. Showed a lot of promise. Not a regular first grade player, but gets the opportunity. That means, just to confirm for South Sydney fans, at this stage, whilst this is not the official last announcement, that'll happen an hour before kickoff, Damien Cook, Dane Gagai, and Cameron Murray have all been placed in the side, are expected to play.
One of them will play.
They have to, because when you look at the 19... Yeah, they'll play. All three will play. Yeah. All three will play. There'll be no reason not to. If South lose this, it'll be 5 losses in a row.
Can I allude to something that Bennett said? Bennett said before Origin, he's got this feeling like it. He said, it feels to me like my first year at the Dragons, when they went on this absolute phenomenal run, and then the end of the year, they just fell in a heap. I think he's trying to protect that. I think he's looking to say, look, to be honest with you, say South Sydney lose their next 2 and then win the next 6. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's hedging his bets. This is a must-win game for South Sydney, and they're playing a very, very good rugby league side. I think that Jake Trbojevic is a big in. Marty Tapau is a good player. He's up against Liam Knight, who's been good as well.
Kyle Turner, I should mention, is the player coming in for Sam Burgess. He'll start in the second row.
Daly Cherry Evans plays.
Yeah, Cherry Evans is backing up. I didn't mention that. That goes without saying.
Adam Reynolds, Cody Walker back. Having had... The only thing that makes me think South Sydney are the team to beat here is because they've had the week off, they're rested. From what we hear, there's a lot of harmony at the Bunnies at the moment, with Jane Roberts coming in the side. Braden Burns is going to be in the centres. Gagai, Campbell Graham. You've got this settled. Dewey at fullback.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
Dewey at fullback.
I really wanted to get your thoughts, and I'll just mention this for to the fans at home. Alex Johnston is out injured. He's out injured. There's another player on the injury list for South there. Very interesting call here. Corey Allen earlier on the week was on the reserves list. They've basically said we're going with Adam Dewey over Corey Allen. Corey Allen has been doing a good job at fullback while Alex Johnston is out. I feel as though... Look, Adam Dewey didn't have a great game the last one he played, which was against Penrith, I feel, where he played in the halves. That was a really ordinary night for him. He struggled in the halves. He struggled with his kicking game. Is this an opportunity... I know it's hard to get in Wayne Bennett's head because he's such a mastermind. Is this to build confidence in Adam Dewey going into the back half of the year? Because he hasn't played much football in the last year.
South Sydney is that Corey Allen's injured. He's carrying some niggles.
So this this is forced.
This is carrying a few niggles. They want a guy who can catch the ball and run. And Adam Dewey's that guy.
Look, to be honest with you,
I'd be bombing the daylights out of him if I was Manly.
Yeah, I mean, he's played fullback for one. I mean, I said on the podcast, I said, it's great that Adam Dewey's playing half. I said this about 3 weeks ago because that's his actual position. He looked lost the other day at halfback. He was with Cody Walker and no one took control. At fullback, it may provide him that opportunity to get involved. I feel, from South Sydney's point of view, Wayne Bennett's point of view, he's a first grade quality player that needs some confidence to get back to where he needs to be. Last year, he was a real revelation for them. There are only a few players, and I don't like saying this because they don't always come to fruition. When you look over South Sydney over the years, 10 years ago, you had this young bloke named James Roberts. He was going to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
He's still there at the club, or he's come and gone.
Look,
Aaron Gray was going to be the next big thing. Didn't always pan out. Adam Dewey had that rap on him. He was the next big thing.
I think if Cherry was
Bit of work
putting
to
the
do
bomb
there.
up, and Elliott, Walker, Garrick, Defua, even Sully's running at me.
That backline doesn't... sorry. You mentioned Dylan Walker. He was the other player who was going to be the next big thing at
Bit of
South.
height.
And he was.
You know what I mean? Like, it's... I like... Look, Adam Dewey aside,
There's some strength in that
I
backline.
like the
Physically.
balance of
It's a
South Sydney.
physical...
South Sydney
Yeah.
is a far more balanced
They
side.
should win it. If you're gonna choose a team and make a tip here, most
Sydney.
safe punters are tipping South Sydney. I wouldn't put your house on it, but yeah, South need to get back on track if they lose this.
For me, this is South Sydney back in the winner's circle.
Okay, if South lose this, devil's advocate, can they still win the comp? Can they win the comp?
We were saying the same thing about the Roosters this time last year.
Yeah, okay. Look, I feel if you're in that, the finals are a different thing. I think they can win the comp. They could lose the next 3 and win the comp. It all comes down to what happens at the back end of the year. I just think they need some confidence.
Yeah, I think so.
I think this week they'll win, but
The funny thing is, yeah, we talk about the comp.
it's not that far off. Round 17.
No.
We're getting to the pointy end.
Getting to the pointy end.
Melbourne
Okay.
and Roosters are still looking good, though.
Yeah, and you know what the funny thing is?
What's that?
If someone said pick the winner now, I'd pick the Roosters.
I'd want to see the Roosters play 1 or 2 more games after this Origin period, but yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you.
I think. Look, you know what I think? I think we're seeing the wash of the silly season.
It's all
I think
starting
it
to
takes
settle
one more
now.
week. It takes this week
And
I
Origin.
think next. Well, this is what I'm saying. The
Yeah,
Origin,
silly season. I thought you
Yeah.
meant like the
Oh,
June
that too.
30 stuff,
That too.
players
I think
changing clubs.
next round we start to see teams charge to the finals.
Yeah. The next game we've got is going to be at Suncorp Stadium. Brisbane will be at home to the Warriors. As we would imagine here, most of the players that have played Origin or well, look, Milford's back. That's another
Yeah.
back in for them. That's big.
Mate, like,
He's back in. Oates, Fafita, Offa Hengawi, all expected to
Bad.
play. On the other side of the
Bad
coin,
injury.
you've got the Warriors who you just don't know who's going to show up. When you go through the Warriors team and you look at the personnel they have, it's very hard to write them off in any game when you've got your Tuivasa-Sheck, your Fizatua, your Hiku, Beale. Look, I'll just go through the back line. Mamalo, Nicarima, Green, even through the forward pack with your Parsi, Luke, Armour, Blair, Papali, Tavaga. They have a really solid team, but the Warriors are the Warriors and they just struggle to consistently perform.
the Warriors have 13 first graders, whereas I think the Broncos have 17.
Their bench has been a lot
for me.
stronger. Do you know who I think...
I can't go past the Broncos here.
I got the Broncos too. I think they've looked strong, especially since Seguiaro's come on board.
Yeah,
I don't think people have talked about how important he is and how much he's provided to this team.
Yeah, he is who Seguiaro is, and I think when you look minus Milford, it was a different kettle of fish too. I think the biggest problem with the Warriors is at the moment is you got players that are just at the back end of their careers. Their names are phenomenal, and what they've done for rugby league is great. But they've just not got the penetration, the wherefore that they once had.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Broncos. I
picking the
can't
Broncos.
see the Warriors winning. I do think though, if their halves can get together and they can kick well and they can help their forwards out, that's the only way the Warriors are going to win.
The interesting thing too, I found with the Warriors, the way they're named this week, they do have Harris Tavita on the bench.
Yep.
Do we see him staying in that 17, coming on, playing a bit of a utility role? Would that add an extra bit of spark to the Warriors? I personally feel as though this might be a case of we've got a good footy player playing reserve grade. Let's get him on board.
Yep.
We need wins. Let's get some talent.
I don't think Isaac Luke's an 80-minute player anymore.
Do you think he'll come on and play a bit of
Most definitely.
hooker?
Yeah.
Good call. I like that. Didn't think of that. Even if they had to, Green or Nicarima could switch back there.
I just don't
Didn't think of that.
Isaac Luke is an 80-minute
Good
player
work.
anymore.
Yeah. Well done. 7:30 Saturday night, we've got Storm playing the Sharks. They've tried to talk this up as a bit of a rivalry since they played in that grand final. Realistically, you've got a high-flying Storm side where other teams have struggled through what we've been calling the silly season. A lot of NRL fans have been. The Storm have just been kicking and kicking and kicking. I talk every week. I don't think, if you listen back to every podcast, I don't think I've ever said a negative word about the Storm and the way they play footy.
Because you can't.
They are that good.
They're a machine.
You talk about the Roosters.
The same week in, week out.
I tell you what.
They're a machine. Look, they are a machine. I can't see them losing. The only thing I can say for them is this. I don't think. I know that he's been put in the ins column. Old Wade Graham.
That's a yeah.
You don't ice a hamstring and come out 2 days later or 3 days later and play footy.
How's the song go? Call me maybe, because he'll maybe play. You can't call him definite.
I don't think he'll play.
Yeah.
I think they want.
They're
him.
expecting 3 to 4 weeks with that. So
the
scrap
problem
him
is,
and they'll fix the team up.
This is the problem. They are at a point in the season where I think, and fans agree or disagree with me, I think the Sharks are at a very low point at this point in time.
I think the other thing...
I think they don't know who they are or how to play at the moment. I think they've got these really good players and they don't... I'll be honest, forwards aren't laying the foundation for the Sharks. When the Sharks do get anywhere, they knock it on. They knock on coming out of their own area. Their ball handling is abysmal. But in all that... There are times where they only just lose football games.
They're still there or thereabouts.
If they tidied up their kicking game, if they tidied up their ball handling, and if the forwards together, like if individually each forward can make 10 more metres, no Gallen's a problem.
That's the thing. That's what I was going to say. Not only for the work he does up front, but just his presence, morale, etc. I think Gallen being out is huge. Wade Graham won't play this week. We'll just cut through the crap. Wade Graham's not going to play. The other player who's actually struggling to ensure that he's fit is Matt Moylan. Now, players will remember that he left the field last week against the Broncos. He's got that crook hamstring. They're not convinced that he's going to play. And the biggest indicator that he may not play, and the Knights have been clear about this, is the fact that Aaron Gray is on the reserves.
Sharks, please. Knights.
Nice.
Sharks.
Far out. I'm 3 games ago. Sorry. The Sharks, Aaron Gray is on the reserves list. And he's the player that they'll expect to come in if Moylan doesn't pass the fitness test. I think it's a good call by the Sharks to not have Kyle Flanagan in their top 17. That was nice of them to not pick him, because I think... I think everyone was expecting a suspension there, but that was another thing, eh? Knee to the head, take the early guilty plea, miss no weeks. That I thought was a bit ordinary, the Flanagan situation.
The independent commission...
I've done nothing.
Anyway. At this point in time, we should do a special podcast.
We should be the commission.
On the independent commission.
How excited were we when it was going to come in?
That has the potential to be so beautiful, could be so dirt.
I know that it's
getting better.
Look, no, I know that
I think the guy knows the difference between Newcastle and Barcelona now.
Yeah.
And he knows that the Sharks
are from Cronulla?
From Cronulla.
I thought they were from Newcastle a minute ago.
He said, no, the Sharks at Manly.
Oh, he's got
no idea. Yeah, so look, we're not going to talk about the commission.
Look,
it's just a farce.
No, but I think Flanagan was lucky not to get suspended. He probably won't play anyway. He's on the reserves list. Makes no difference, whatever. But that was an interesting one with that clear knee to the head to get a grade 1. It blows my mind that any knee to the head can be classified as a grade 1.
You're asking me to provide some sort of advice on...
I'm asking you to apply logic to an
do it.
illogical situation, which is impossible. So
you're asking...
I'll move on.
You're asking, people have to comment on a judiciary where you're not allowed to take precedence into account.
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, if they took precedence into account...
Okay, under a week for a knee to the head.
Well,
Who did the knee to the head years ago?
Greg Bird,
Bird,
Shane Martini in the head.
Yeah.
And
Didn't he get 13 weeks? He
got referred straight to the judiciary. I looked this up during the week.
Yeah.
I've done some homework.
You know what was going to come up?
He got referred straight to the judiciary and got given 10 weeks.
10 weeks.
I know...
Early guilty plea?
I don't know if they had early guilty pleas back then. You just got suspended. But that was... I mean, that would have been 2000 and... If I had to guess a year, 2004, that vintage. He was playing for Cronulla. Martini was playing at South.
Wow.
But, I mean, that one was cruel.
Wow.
Martini got up and he just banged.
Yeah,
but a knee to the head's a knee to the head. A week ago, we were saying an eye gouge is an eye gouge, and we were blowing our... You know, it was blowing our minds that George Burgess only got 9 weeks. Anyway.
Storm.
The Roosters are going to take on the Cowboys on Sunday at 2:00. This is one of the games that the Roosters take up to Gosford, to Central Coast Stadium. So if you live on the Central Coast, might be one that you can get out and have a look at. It'll give you a chance to see the Roosters. One player who you will notice for the Roosters is not announced on their team sheet when I checked it. I double check here just to make sure. It's James Tedesco. Mm-hmm. Joey Manu's at fullback for them. They've still got a lot of strike on the park, as we said last week with your Tupu, your Mitchell, Keary and Cronk. Any team that's got Keary and Cronk as a halves are a fair shake of winning a game. Big in for them is Jake Friend.
Yep.
That's a big in. To have your starting lineup sort itself out with Jake Friend in at hooker and Victor Radley being put back to lock, that's some big class in a forward pack. They're a great team. Maria Hargraves, Takiaho, Orbison's back to the second row, I think, which is his better spot. You got players like, Angus Crichton coming off the bench. I think they're going to have a bit too much class. Mm-hmm. Really interested to see the way these days with the Cowboys, how they structure their team. Big ins for them in regards to their side this week that was named as well. Still don't think they'll have enough strike. You got Cohen Hess in at number 18 there, but looking at the other players that have been slotted in there, as you'd expect, Maguire, Jarvid Bowen, Matt Scott has been named this week, so a few players there returning. So I think Matt Scott's going to be the biggest return for them. It's Gavin Cooper's 300th game this week. They will be missing Michael Morgan, though.
Yeah, the Roosters take their game up there. Of course, we know there is a Central Coast Roosters side, old Centurions, I think. But yeah, I just look at the two teams. They're on two different trajectories at the moment. One is up, the other's down. The Roosters are up. Cowboys are down. They're
It's
just
second versus 13th. That sums it up.
Cowboys are just struggling to find ways to win games. The Roosters, I think, they've just got too much class. Look, Joseph Manu is fine. They're becoming the new Melbourne. They can just find players to slot in positions and play beautifully.
Yeah, they're a machine as well. That's why.
I just think Victor Radley.
He's good, isn't he? I like Radley. He's a gun.
I rate him very highly. Isaac Liu, Crichton on the bench is a good mix. I look at the two teams and they're chalk and cheese at the moment, and the Roosters are just light years ahead of where the Cowboys would love to be. Sydney Roosters, and it's going to be Sydney Roosters by
they're my margin this week.
By a truckload.
They're my margin. Interesting game we've got here on Sunday at 4:00.
Always produce a good game, these two.
The Tigers and the Eels. They are playing
even if one gets belted, Like, you know what I mean? Like, when they play, it's a great game to watch. Like, if you've got no emotional attachment to either team, which I don't.
4 o'clock on Sunday, throw the telly on.
Yeah, because, mind you, if you have an emotional attachment to either of these teams, you probably have no hair left on your head and your liver is pretty much gone. But if you don't have any emotional attachment to these teams, they're not bad games to watch.
I'll be honest with you, though. I think it's a good get for Para, and I think West Tigers fans will be looking at this decision depending, on where this game was played venue-wise. It's a West Tigers home game at Bankwest Stadium.
Yeah,
it's Parramatta Stadium. It's Parramatta Stadium.
Yeah.
If you're a Tigers fan,
the 50,000 grounds that the Tigers play out of, why play at Bankwest Stadium this game?
If I was a Tigers fan,
I'll
be honest with you. If I'm tipping this and both teams are going well, the home ground advantage means nothing to the Tigers. This game's at Parramatta.
My understanding.
Play this at Leichhardt. Play it at Campbelltown. It's a different ball of wax.
My understanding is with this game is that basically what happened was when the projected finish date of the stadium took place, Parramatta said we have exclusive rights to it for a certain amount of games, at which point the Tigers, who said we don't have enough home grounds, can we have another one, said can we chime in. Incidentally, they've said, so what happened was they said yes you can do it a certain amount of games after we play. Actually, we've got to touch back on the Storm game just for a minute, but I'll come back to that. You can play after a certain amount of games. They said, yes, we'd love to play a certain amount of games. We want 3 in a row. It just so happened when the draw came out that one of those games was against Parramatta. One thing we did neglect to mention, and it's something that's massive, and I don't know why we neglected to mention it, probably because they're always awesome, is Cameron Smith's 400 game. We'll touch on that.
Yes.
We'll touch on that.
We'll talk about that at the end.
I honestly believe...
We'll give him a segment.
That is a phenomenal achievement. But anyway,
that's huge.
Going back to...
That's huge. I forgot to mention that. That's my fault. I apologise.
The reason why...
That's my gig.
The reason why they're playing this week is because contractually they signed a contract to play these games, and then all of a sudden the draw came out and it landed on Parramatta.
And that would give a lot of confidence to Parramatta fans. I know this isn't the 22nd of April, and I know that if you're a Tigers fan, that's a date you'd want to forget, because the Tigers have actually played the Eels once before at Bankwest Stadium.
It was a great game.
51-6.
I don't go for the Tigers.
51-6 on Monday, the 22nd of April. That was a big day for Parramatta fans.
If let's be fair, the Tigers can play an away game, and 9 out of 10 times they're playing at a home game. They're either playing at ANZ.
Yeah. Now with Bankwest. Well, especially when ANZ gets done up, when you'll have Canterbury and South also moving to Bankwest. I like the Eels in this one. Now, the only thing they got to keep an eye on with Origin and all that sort of stuff is Blake Ferguson, but he's expected to play. With the Tigers, big day for them. We mentioned there's a lot of milestones this week. It's Benji Marshall's 300th game this week.
Yep.
And I know we
thought that shoulder would last 300 games.
That's right. Yeah, so it's a big game for him. As you said, we'll come back to Cameron Smith. He's 400th. I feel bad for glossing over that. But I do like the Eels, and I'll be honest with you, I like the Eels at Bankwest, regardless of who's listed first on the Big League magazine, if they still make Big League. I don't know, I haven't been down to news agents for years.
They do.
Regardless of which team's listed first, this is an Eels home game. I don't care what you say. Yeah. And often, look, Eels have a good record against the Tigers as well. I think they've won 4 of the last 5 against the Tigers. I think the Eels, this is a big game for them because I feel as though they're going to want to ensure that they cement themselves in the 8. Yep. If they win this week, they're one of those teams that are a top 8 team, not a fringe, are we in there, are we out? They've been good enough this year to show it. I like Para.
Yep, I like Para too.
Cool. The last game of the week, we actually have a Sunday night game this week because with Origin there are no Thursday night footy games. The Sunday 6 o'clock time slot belongs to the Dragons and the Raiders. This one's down at Wynn Stadium. Now, with this game here, looking at the teams that are announced, you've got your Corey Norman in the team. Ben Hunt, if you have a look at the reserves grade, he's on there. Vaughan's on the reserves list. Frizzell's on the reserves list. This is one of those tough games because you don't actually know who's going to play and who's going to show up. James Graham, he's listed on the reserves list. Could be a late inclusion because he had that... with his leg injury, was it busted? I think he busted that leg. So he's really well ahead of schedule if he does come back. There's heaps of, as I said, Ben Hunt, Paul Vaughan, Tyson Frizzell in the squad. Don't know. Corey Norman, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's too early with this game to call. We're going to tip this as if we assume they all play. Whiten and Papali, they're the ones backing up for the Raiders. They're expected to play. Nick Kotrick is the interesting inclusion here for the Raiders. He's named in the centres there. He'll bring a lot back to this team if he does play. I'm leaning towards the Raiders in this one.
I've got the Raiders. Raiders are my team.
I'm thinking if Kotrick plays and he's got it'd be interesting to see how much he's got in that ankle. You know, how many miles, so to speak, or K's he's got in that ankle.
I'm picking the Raiders. I just think they've got too much strike in their forwards, actually.
Yeah.
I think the Raiders... I think the Raiders are kicking themselves. 2 weeks ago, they could have been second. And they didn't get there. And I think they're a team that are just learning who they are as a top 8 side.
Yeah.
And they're building nicely. I think they've still got an error in them. I also think that come Sunday, they're either going to be looking at the Sea Eagles leapfrogging them,
or South staying ahead.
South Sydney staying at 2 points ahead, and I think they're going to want to. I think they're going to want to lift a little bit.
If they win, they're definitely in the top 4. Look, to be honest with you, I know this sounds silly.
In their last 4, that's not bad.
And they're for and against. They're 10 points behind South.
Yeah, I know.
They're 16 behind the Roosters. They're there or thereabouts.
Yep, I just think
we just don't talk about them in that same category as South, Roosters, and Storm, do we?
I think the Raiders are there.
I like the Raiders in this one too. Yeah. All right. We mentioned we'd go back to it. That's all the games previewed this week. We'll go back to the Storm game because it would be.
Well, it'd be remiss of us not to.
It'd be
Cameron Smith,
first player ever to reach 400 NRL games this weekend will be Cameron Smith. Now, this is if I know most people who, if you bother to listen to this podcast, you're a genuine rugby league fan. I know you'll watch this game because you are going to watch history in the making. I'm not sure that we will see. Maybe we may do. I don't know. The game might change. There's never been in the history of the game back to 1908 a player who has played 400. This is 400 NRL games. This doesn't count Origins, tests, and whatever. With all that, he's close to 450. But this is 400 first grade NRL games. This may be something we never see again.
I don't think it will.
It's huge.
Look, I know there's players like James Graham who's played between the two. Phenomenal.
This is NRL games. And I'm not going to... And I understand if there are people... Believe it or not, there are people that listen to us in the UK. We've seen the stats. We don't believe it, but it happens. People over there will be talking about the Super League. I don't want to devalue the Super League, talk down to fans in the UK.
At the point
the NRL is, apart from Origin, the NRL is the highest level.
I think what we've got to
It's the best competition in the world, and he has been one of the best players in that competition for 15 odd years.
Yeah, I think
more.
to play 400 games and look, congratulations to him. It's an absolute phenomenal feat.
He's still one of the best players in the game.
He's still one of the best.
He's not a
players in the
nostalgia
game.
act.
No, and I think to get to this milestone,
Queensland could have used him the other night.
To get to this milestone, he is playing like he has been at the top of his game for years.
Yeah.
At a time where I'm sure retirement would have come across his mind. Congratulations to him. I'll say this. I think it's one of the most phenomenal feats by a rugby league player ever. I don't think he's going to get surpassed. He is an immortal. He is one of the best players I've ever seen. I cannot speak more highly enough of him. Sure, 300 of those was as a player and 100 was as a referee, but But look, no. All jokes aside, he's a phenomenal player, and hats off to him.
Best player in the world. At the moment, he is. I reckon he is.
At the moment,
tell me someone. We went through all those teams there.
James
we looked
Tedesco.
at the. Oh, far out. That's a massive call.
James Tedesco's best player in the world.
James Tedesco will be the best player in the world. I think at the moment, Cam Smith.
I think at the moment, James Tedesco.
He's more. I think Cam Smith's more important to a footy side than Tedesco. This week, we talked about the Roosters, and we went, Tedesco's not playing, they'll win. If Smith was out, we'd spend 10 minutes talking about that game.
Yeah, I still think Tedesco's better. I think. Look, it's hard. It's splitting hairs.
Yeah.
It's like, Ferrari or Maserati.
Yeah, they're both fast.
I'll take both of them.
They're good cars.
Yeah.
Can't afford either of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's one of those things where you say,
I just think for impact at the moment.
I just think he's so important to this team.
He's a goal kicker.
And he has been. His longevity as well. That's the other thing. We've seen players play well. We've talked about players today who can't string 2 or 3 good games together. He's done it consistently for years.
I'll tell you what, just recently he beat Hazemil Masri.
Yeah. In the goal kick.
Shows you the phenomenal rate that Hazemil Masri could kick at.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think Hazemil Masri's anywhere near 400.
No.
You know what I mean? Like credit where credit's due. He's got the record.
Yeah.
But geez, so Masri could, But I think, I think the thing for me, why this is awesome, it's at one club.
Yes, because the closest player to him is
he's played finals football every year though.
That helps. That does help. He started in 2002. You look at that. It's now 2009. 17 years.
Yeah.
There will be players, right? Or there will be players in the comp who are aspiring to make first grade.
Yeah. Who
were born the year he was playing. Do you know what I mean? There'll be 17-year-olds out there. Even the active players.
I always say to make the 300 club is a hell of a feat.
Put it in perspective. Like Paul Gallen would have to play another 4 years to get close.
Yeah.
5 years to play. Like it's mental. It's just insane. Just to give people an idea, and I know it's not sheer volume of numbers. What makes this so special isn't the fact that he's played a lot of games, because I know people will look at players like Chris Hyington, and he was a good player. You don't play 338 games of first grade without being a good player. Cameron Smith not only has played the most games, he has been over the past 17 years in the conversation as being one of the best players ever. Game changer. Origin hero. He's just phenomenal.
Do you want the hot tip though? If you're making your NRL debut in the next few weeks and you want to get to over 300 games, only play for one club. You're more inclined to get to over 300
if you play for one club.
Play for one club.
But look, to be realistic. Okay, yeah, no, but to be realistic, I know the players you're alluding to, blokes like Cameron Smith, Darren Lockyer, Eddinghausen, Gallen, Parker. If you've got those players on your books, they're your priority to stay at the club. That's why they're one club men as well. You don't go, you don't say to Cameron Smith, Menzies.
I think Steve Menzies, I put him in there too.
Yeah.
Menzies, sorry.
Terry
Lamb, he played for the Magpies
He played for
couple of
West
years.
for a bit, but he's a Canterbury legend.
The same with Cooper Cronk.
Cronk went to the Roosters. It was one of
To
those
win a premiership, and he did it.
Yeah.
Well done.
Look, to give you an idea of the list, as I was
John
saying,
Sutton.
yeah, Sutton's played over 300 games. I'll tell you some of the players at the moment. So Cameron Smith's played the most NRL games ever. He's at 399. By the time you listen to this, some of you may be listening to this and he's a 400 game player. Cooper Cronk is second with 361. He's still active. So the top two are Storm legends and are active. So that just shows the influence the Storm have had on the comps coming in. Lockie is third at 355.
He couldn't play.
Terry Lamb,
Yeah,
350.
He was rubbish.
Steve Menzies,
He was
349.
ordinary as well.
Corey Parker, 347.
Grey hair,
I
though.
don't know as many. Well, no wonder he's got grey hair when you look at how many games he's had to play.
Look, you know what? They would make. You're looking at people who play for Australia.
Yeah.
They all played for Australia. They're no slouches. Like they haven't. they
And
haven't
players that are fit
they
enough to
haven't
play
fooled
into
around.
their mid and late 30s.
And the other thing is, all those players you mentioned, they retired on their own terms.
Yeah. Well, Cameron Smith, he's 36.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, 36
Yeah.
was...
And retiring on your own terms matters.
And all these players
if you
played
don't
late
have
into their
longevity-
career.
Anyway, it's a phenomenal achievement for
Yep.
him, and congratulations to him. It's one hell of an achievement, I think, to play that many games and to play it for one club.
Yep.
Also, for the Melbourne Storm, you forget the Melbourne Storm weren't always awesome, and when Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk.
Yeah, they've been awesome.
No, but like
For most of their...
I remember a time when they weren't. And when people like Cameron Smith, Cooper Cronk, Billy Slater started, and you had this young coach called Craig Bellamy, who had done some good stuff before, coming through and had the belief that a club from Melbourne could do something. You're now seeing the fruits of what they're...
Well, Craig Bellamy, that's something to keep in mind too. He's the only club coach that... actually Smith would have been under Murray, wouldn't he? He would have been under Murray there as well. And maybe even Anderson. He's been playing a long time. Look, Craig Bellamy has been there since 2003. Mm-hmm. That's... And as we said...
The first season, they get beaten by the Knights in that season. I can't remember.
Look, the thing is... Cameron Smith started in 2002.
Yeah.
And then you had Bellamy come in 2003. So effectively, for pretty much all of Smith's career, there would have been a few games where I think Murray was the coach. Mark Murray was the coach before that. I don't think Anderson was there at that time. I think he'd gone by then. But that's a partnership there and a combination. That's one of the best footy combinations, and one of the blokes wasn't even on the field for that time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well,
good on him. Congratulations to Cameron Smith. I'm sure he listens. If he doesn't, someone tip him off because it's a great show.
Yeah.
That's us for the week. Good luck to your team if they're playing this week.
Good luck with your tips.
Good luck with your tips. Hopefully, we're not going that bad, but
look,
yeah.
I'm not Nostradamus.
People
but
are doing better than us.
I'm predicting another tough week.
Yeah. So, good luck with it all. Get out to a game this weekend. Don't let the cold and the wind bother you. And, enjoy your week.
Bye.
See ya.